Good evening, everyone. You are in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Thursday, December 3rd, 2015. This In the Spotlight 401 show coming at you here this Thursday night, our second of two shows today, after we had our Football Blitz show this afternoon at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, a little later than that, but around there. So this is our third and final show of this week. So for those of you that did not check out that Football Blitz show, you can check it out here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube. It's labeled as episode 19 for this same date, December 3rd, 2015. You'll find it. That was our Football Blitz show this week. And if you want your usual NFL and NCAA college football coverage, you will check out that show. That's where it is. So this is our third and final show this week, my second of two shows today. You all know me. I'm not a big fan of, doing two shows in one day. It's quite the exhausting experience. More so for my voice than it is for anything else. I dropped my pen. Sorry about that. But nonetheless, here we are. And of course, this is our sports show as we switched things up this week and did the entertainment show on Tuesday. And as I say that, I notice my co-host has appeared on the line. So Mike is in the spotlight for the first time this week after being off, not being on the show. Let's see. I did the show Tuesday, and that was we were on a break for a week. So you've been off the show for almost 10 days. It's a nice little 10-day break for my co-host. He is on, but he's muted. So, we'll give him a little bit of a chance to come on here. And while we wait for him, let me remind you first of the ways in which you can interact and contribute to the show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtags, hashtag itspotlight411 or hashtag ITS5. ITS5, of course, represents our 5th year on the air as a podcast. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure you like our page. Again, for those of you that maybe didn't tune in on Tuesday or forgot, remember we switched things up. We did entertainment, which means box office beat, entertainment news, TV highlights. We did all that on Tuesday, and then we're going to do sports stuff tonight. Reason why we did that was because some of these sports topics I thought were better suited for tonight. I wanted to be able to discuss this with my co-host, some of these topics with my co-host. I thought they work better for actual discussion rather than just having me talk about stuff on the air. I didn't think that was good. I thought it would be better for a show when we have two of us here than one. So we switched things up a little bit this week. And switching things up is good for variety's sake. So that's why we did it. And that's why also this afternoon, for those that did watch the Football Blitz live this afternoon, and again, for those that haven't, it is up on Google Hangouts and on YouTube. Again, it's episode 19, so check it out if you haven't. I kind of ran through the football show real quick this afternoon because I knew I had to save my voice for tonight, because I knew this was going to be the show. We have a lot to do, and not so much in terms of like how long it's going to take to go through this stuff, but in terms of like it being more discussion based is the thing. So I want to make sure that I saved enough of my energy and voice for that. So tonight, as I said, we're going to be in the show description. We're going to be doing some sports and a little bit of wrestling. So the usual stuff you get on a Tuesday night, you're getting here on a Thursday. A lot of sports news this week. It's been a long time since we had a lot of actual sports stories. We talk about games and stuff like that a lot, but it's been a long time since we had actual stories to talk about. Well, tonight we're gonna do a little NBA, a little MLB, a little college basketball, and then a little wrestling. On the sports side of things, we're going to talk about the big news of the week, Kobe Bryant's retirement. We're also going to talk about the big baseball signing of David Price this week, which, that won't be a long discussion, but it's one that I think we need to have. And then, of course, on the college basketball side, since we were last on the air last Tuesday, there were holiday tournaments, there were big developments, and there was a big development today as the NCAA Infractions Committee responded to the Syracuse University appeal of Jim Boeheim, and it wasn't a very positive response nonetheless. It was a response, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And on the wrestling side of things, we'll talk about the latest in WWE. We didn't do any WWE discussion last week. We're going to do a little bit tonight, although a lot of it's going to be centered on the latest Wrestlemania rumors that have got out today, which I'd imagine my co-host is very much excited about. So that's going to be our show. So a very, very full show, which will get going very, very soon, in moments, actually. I'm just trying to check to see if I can get this thing going because it's not working for some reason. Okay. All right. So I see that my co-host is on the air, but I also see that his mic is off. So I'm not sure if he's ready to go or not. I'm going to guess or not because he's not responding. So, all right. So with that in mind, one quick reminder before we start, as I mentioned on Tuesday, next, we do have a lot of stuff planned for the next, well, not a lot of stuff planned, but next week will be another normal week for the show. We will be doing a wrestling show next Thursday night, previewing WWE's TLC pay-per-view. So you wrestling fans out there that want to have a question or comment addressed by us on the air next week, you got until then to get it in. Or you can also, of course, send stuff via email, Facebook, and Twitter during the show as well. That wrestling show, again, will be next Thursday, a week from tonight, December the 10th. And that will be, again, our WWE TLC preview show, which means on Tuesday we'll be doing a sports entertainment combo show. So we're doing all of our usual sports coverage outside of football, of course, and then we'll wrestling news discussion, and of course some entertainment discussion in the form of the box office beat and entertainment news and TV highlights, all that good stuff. That will be on Tuesday, and then next Thursday will be an all wrestling show. And as for the football show next week, I'll let you know more about that on Tuesday. And then as for the schedule going forward, again, I'm being vague. I know people are like, what's going on beyond that? What's going on later in December? What's going on? Guys could do different things. I talked about this on Tuesday. I'll just say this again. There are plans. Bear with us. We're being with the holidays and everything. We don't want to be too assertive. I'll give you more. Once I know for sure what things we're going to be doing and not doing, I will be sure to bring that up on the air. But I'm not going to talk about things that may or may not happen, because then people get their hopes up and it's a mess. So I gave you what's going to happen next week. We'll leave it at that. And again, I'll give you more information on when the Football Blitz show will be next week on Tuesday's show next week. All right. My co-host is actually online on the air right now. So Mike, you are in the spotlight. Welcome back.
I had a 10 break, and a thought went through my head, could I have a 14-day break? And I figured probably not. So I'm here.
You were missed.
Was I? No problem.
You were missed. In fact, when I switched the schedule up and decided to do the sports stuff tonight, a lot of people were actually very happy about that, because I think by now people have it figured, at least our longtime fans have it figured out what you like and don't like, and they knew that there was a lot of basketball talk that had to be had between the Kobe Bryant stuff and the college basketball stuff. So I think they liked the fact that I put it off to tonight so that you could be involved with that. So,
I do enjoy entertainment. However,
I know you do.
I don't. I don't follow it to the extent you do, because I do lots of things that keep me from watching lots of things.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how life works, people. That's how life works. But I don't know. All right, I guess I'll talk about sports, I guess.
Well, you know what's funny, when you first told me on Monday night that you weren't going to do a show on Tuesday, I started racking my brain. I said, you know what? I said, what if I do 2 different combo shows this week and do some of the things that I know you wouldn't want to be, that you're not as involved in, and then on Thursday I do the things that I know that I'd get a response from you on. And then I thought, that's just too complicated. We're just coming off of a week-long break. I don't want to mess with things, so I left it the way it was. But anyway, and by the way, I'd like to say on the air in front of all of our loyal audience members that you told me Monday night that I was going to send you either a text or an invite to be on the show on Tuesday, and I did not do that.
Why do you think I said that to you?
Oh, yeah, manipulative person. Yeah.
Because I knew if I didn't, you would still call me in the middle of my first aid and CPR recertification, because I have to do it for work. So that would have been fun. It was having an incoming Google Hangouts video message from Ryan. And I'm like, I'm trying to watch this video, people. I need to get recertified for work.
By the way, when I mentioned on the air that you weren't on the show Tuesday because you had a job training, and I'm thinking about maybe next time you're over, I'll show you the mail. Some of the mail was hilarious. People are like, "Oh, he got a new job. What is he doing now?" I'm like, people wanted to know what you were doing. They thought you got this new job, and it was funny. It was pretty.
Well, I appreciate the enthusiasm. No, I don't have it. I didn't get a new job. I just got recertified. However, they gave me a raise, so they had to pay me more money to go to this training than they did last time, which I appreciate. So, so I'm all right with that.
Look at the positive.
Yeah,
it's funny
they
because
owe me more money.
Yes. It's funny because since now that Jeff Tech's not on the show anymore, since we moved here, now I get more mail about people asking questions about you. It's like people don't know what else to say other than talking about the topics and stuff. So when they want to talk about one of us, they choose to talk more about you. So
I am infinitely more entertaining and more of a man of mystery.
Yeah,
maybe of international scale. I'm not quite sure.
That is true. All right, so let's get right into it here. And by the way, on Tuesday, I actually, because I had mentioned this on the air that Saturday night we were flipping through channels and we landed on Doctor Who.
Who
and what we watched, like a half hour of it or something.
Yes, Heaven Sent. We watched the last half hour.
Right. And I mentioned that in that half hour, it was probably one of the best half hours of TV I've watched this year at the very least. So I gave some praise to Doctor Who on the show Tuesday, just to let you know.
Okay. Do you want to know an actual kind of honest reaction to that?
Sure, go ahead.
I actually went home. Well, I didn't see that. I saw it the next day. I watched Heaven Sent the next day, which was the name of the episode, Heaven Sent. Mm-hmm. And I watched the entire thing because I finally got a chance to watch the entire thing. And it was easily one of the most complicated, well-directed, well-written, and well-acted episodes of television I might have ever seen in my life. And I had to watch it 2 or 3 times. Actually, it was 2. That's after I came home. And I was just astounded. And here's the thing. This is the truth. The BAFTA, let's see. Well, maybe not the BAFTAs, but the Emmys and the Golden Globes will probably not recognize Capaldi or Moffat or the director of the episode who directed 2 of the better episodes last year. I can't remember her name, but she did a fantastic job. They probably won't get recognition for this. They achieved something just astounding in this episode. And Capaldi and Moffat and the like will not get the opportunity to be rewarded for it. And I feel like that is a gross injustice. Like, look, we're going to get all this bullshit, like not even the PBS stuff, the Showtime stuff or the Downton Abbey or the whatever, for fuck's sake, is on Amazon or Netflix or whatever. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That'll get rewarded more than Doctor Who will, or more faster than Doctor Who will. And it's a sad, sad situation. Because Doctor Who put on one of the best hours of television than anybody could have possibly have done. And it wasn't even close. Like, it wasn't even close.
Yeah. I mentioned this. I said it was probably one. It was definitely the best at least the final. I mentioned the final 10 minutes. It was the best editing job. Not only that I've seen on TV, but I've seen in any form of entertainment this year.
Yeah.
That job could have easily been a hackneyed mess because, like you said, it is a very complicated thing to get across. But because it was a very long duration of time, they had to do that. And the fact that it was pulled off and continuity-wise and technically speaking, it was perfect in its execution of it. That, to me, is just, for that sequence alone, not only from a writing standpoint, but from a directing standpoint, that should be rewarded across the board, but it's not going to be. It's just the complication of it is just ridiculous.
And here's the thing. I would love to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I'm begging the BAFTAs and the Emmys and the Golden Globes. I'm begging you. Prove me wrong. Reward this show for what it did with this episode. And I can guarantee you, this episode and the Zygon Inversion episode are probably going to be on his Emmy reel and his BAFTA reel and his Golden Globe reel. Those two episodes are probably going to be on, and whatever we see in this upcoming episode entitled Hellbent. Whatever, that's what we're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're going to see. And for the love of anything, I just hope they prove me wrong and say, good Lord, we have to reward this. We have to reward this.
Well, like I said before, it was, I told you this a couple weeks ago, I was interested in getting involved in it. I probably will wait till probably spring or summer, maybe during the winter hiatus for a lot of these shows, because a lot of the shows I watch are going to be off for quite a while, actually. I'll start getting into it because if I was already interested, that sequence alone interested me. That was a brilliantly executed sequence, and I only saw a half hour, and then final 10 minutes was just breathtaking. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, if you don't watch the show, I know it might take a little bit to get into, but if you don't watch the show, you should try to get. I'm going to try to get involved in watching it. Walking Dead's over till February. Gotham's over till February. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has one more left, and then they're over till I think March. Blacklist is done till February, so I got more time to actually watch stuff. So maybe I'll check it out more quickly than I thought, because it really was an amazing sequence, and this is a half hour alone. I love to see the rest of it because that was just brilliant. So there you go, Mike. You got me on a trajectory towards watching it. So
I'm surprised it took you this long.
Well, I watch a lot of stuff. Between sports and TV, so it's kind of hard to get engaged with something where it's been going on for so long. But yeah, so
stand by my statement.
Yeah. Okay. So we gave you a little bit of entertainment. I figured if I'm gonna give Mike the chance to get his Doctor Who praise in, because it's well earned. So I figured I'd give you at least that much. So a little entertainment here on this Thursday night for you. All right, let's get into sports right now. And it's been a week dominate that only Kobe Bryant could bring the NBA to the forefront on a Sunday night when the NFL usually dominates. But that's exactly what happened on Sunday night, as Kobe Bryant leaked news of his retirement on the Players Tribune in a beautifully written piece. I highly recommend reading it. It was a beautifully written piece. And look, anybody that's watched Kobe Bryant this year in the NBA, he's taken a lot of flack. A lot of people think, oh, just retire right now. Don't play another game. Oh, you're hurting the team. Look. Kobe Bryant knows that he's done. He went through everything the last couple of years because he wanted to see how much he had left. He came back on that floor this year to see how much he had left. He made that abundantly clear. He now realizes he doesn't have much left. His body can't take it anymore. He pretty much had told people close to him. He said, look, I don't have – the only reason why I'm still playing is because I enjoy the game and I want to play as long as I possibly can. He said it right out. My body's telling me it's done. It's over. And he the last couple of years he's had injuries. And he wanted to make sure that it really, truly was over. He now knows it's over. And now the farewell tour begins, And look, it's not going to be pretty for the Lakers. I know a lot of people think he should be go to the bench. He's not going to do. Look, if you're the Lakers here, you cannot. You got to be careful here. I know that there's this influx of people out there that say, he's hurting the team by being out there, that he shouldn't be getting the minutes he is. Byron Scott is not going to cut down his minutes. It's his last season. It's his last season. And you know what the sad fact is? Yes, his shooting percentage is abysmal, especially from three. But he's still having 20-point games every now. So it's not like he's that bad. He's better than a lot of the options you have. It's not like you have a 30-point-a-game scorer sitting on the bench to take his spot. The Lakers aren't going anywhere this year. So it's not, the only thing that's going to put butts in the seats at this point and make the team any kind of money is Kobe Bryant on the court to play him. The only thing that sucks is that he's going out on a non-competitive note. The Lakers aren't going to even sniff the playoffs this year. And there is a part of, I think, a lot of people that wish he would go get, the Lakers would trade him to another team, even if he has to come off the bench so he'd have a chance to at least be in the playoffs this year. Problem with that is nobody's going to take him. Nobody wants to pay that price, and the Lakers aren't going to do him a favor and send him somewhere else. So it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Now, you've heard him say in the last couple of days that he's interested in maybe owning a team or even still being involved with the Lakers beyond being a player. The man knows the game. I could see him as a good coach. I could see him owning a team. I could see him. I guess I could see him owning a team more than I could see him coaching.
I cannot see Kobe Bryant as a coach.
You can't?
I don't think Kobe Bryant really works as a coach.
Okay.
It's not because of his lack of want of the game and wanting to help the young breed. It's more of if they don't play up to his expectations, how does he react?
Right.
And I think it's the similar reason why Jordan was never a coach. So Jordan went right into team ownership. And that's why, and I agree with you. I think Kobe is actually going to follow Jordan's example. Well, Kobe following Michael Jordan, what are the odds? But I think he's going to follow his example and to investigating how to be a team owner, maybe a team president, GM, something in management or something like that, because that's where his strength, I think, is. Because and here's the thing, Kobe will probably be like Jordan. And that every now and again, Jordan, and this is true, one of the young guns on the for the Bobcats will challenge his airness to a one-on-one game. And Jordan doesn't ever back down from a challenge because he's Michael Jordan. And the truth is, Michael Jordan will still beat these young guns in one-on-one pickup games, in the Charlotte Bobcats, with witnesses around, pretty easily. Michael Jordan can do that because he's the greatest player of all time. I can see Kobe Bryant maybe buying a stake in the Lakers. He shows up occasionally, and some of these young guns like Swaggy P, as in crappy. Let me make him say Swaggy C. Anyways, Nick Young's like, I can beat Kobe Bryant one-on-one. Swaggy P doesn't know how to play defense, let alone beat anybody one-on-one. And I could see Kobe Bryant saying, "Oh yeah, what have you learned since I played?" They'd be like, "Just what I thought, nothing." So I could see that being a real thing. Kobe has more of a mind for like being a GM or owning stake in a team or being majority owner of a team. So
yeah. Well, that's why I had said that I'm edging more towards owning, because you're right. He does have this high expectation for anybody around him. That's why he has always been the best teammate. He's just he has been spoiled. Let's face it, he's been spoiled that he's been on contenders for most of his career. So he's always been surrounded by players that he's never had to worry about expectations for. And then later in his career, it was kind of like, all right, I want you guys to be up to this level, but you're not even getting to this level. It's that's the thing. He has this. For some people, it's an impossible standard sometimes, and that does not make a good coach. He's gonna kind of wear guys down by thinking that both mentally and physically. So, look, he's the kind of guy that's not going to be completely away from basketball, just like Jordan wasn't. You will see him involved in some way, shape, or form. It is the right call. He does need to retire. It just sucks that it has to be in this fashion and that it didn't happen sooner. I think everybody wishes that it happened sooner, so we could have had a little bit of a more competitive, better send-off. And he'll get a good send-off at the All-Star game, which today I think they announced that they're going to wear jerseys honoring like the first NBA game or something at the All-Star game. But he's going to get a nice send-off, and it's going to be a big deal. And it should be. He's one of the best of all time. And it should be celebrated. So it's definitely the right move. If you watch him play, it's not fun anymore to watch him play. He still can contribute. It's just not, the efficiency is gone, and physically you could see it being a struggle. And look, he's had a lot. He's had some severe injuries in recent years, and that's how it happens to some of these guys. It happened to Jeter. It happened to it happened to Kobe Bryant. Michael Jordan was lucky towards the end that while he was he wasn't quite the same player, he was still able to do a lot of the same things. He didn't have the severe injuries late in his career that Kobe did. Kobe stayed healthy for the most part until those injuries. It just one injury, I think it was the Achilles thing, and that was it. All took off from there. It's the same thing that happened to Jeter. The broken foot all took off from there. Happens. What are you going to do? But I will say this much. I mean, look, if the Lakers were worried about attendance, well, now that Kobe Bryant announced this, every home game is going to have a good attendance because they're going to want to see and soak in the last of Kobe Bryant. And that's what you're going to see anytime the Lakers travel this year. Everybody's going to want to soak in the last of Kobe Bryant.
Well, they're certainly not going to soak in the crappiness of the Los Angeles Lakers. So,
yeah.
But the long and the short, Kobe Bryant had a Hall of Fame career. He is one of the greatest players of his era. And you're right, though. He was blessed by having superstars around him when he came in. Like, he was a bench player when he started. He was blessed with having just amazing players around him. 100%. Let's face it. As much as he probably admits it more now than he did then, but Shaq allowed him to develop by being the most dominant center in the game. And then when he developed into one of the best players in the game, who did he have around with him? He had Pau Gasol. He had Derek Fisher. He had Glenn Rice for a time. He had all of these great contributors. And you know what? And then that's probably what contributes a little bit to the attitude. Because which is why I don't think he'd make a great coach, because he had such high expectations placed on him, and then he had high expectations of everybody around him.
Right.
And he placed high expectations on everybody around him, so it made sense, So when he gets a team like, I don't know, this Los Angeles Lakers team, his expectations are low. And he probably would bring morale down a little bit here. But Kobe Bryant, regardless, Kobe Bryant is one of the greatest players in recent history. He is definitely on the wall when it comes to Like he probably 50 greatest players now. More than likely, he's probably inched his way in that. You know, you can't actually talk about the greatest players of the game without mentioning Kobe now, because he was fantastic. He had a dominant career filled with championships and MVPs and first team All NBAs and first team All Defensives. Couple scoring titles, and he was the man. Even through his scandal, he was the man. You know, but in the end, they crowned LeBron James midway through his run. And that's what he'll be remembered by fondly. They crowned LeBron James midway through the run.
Which was funny because for a while I think that was the thing that was driving Kobe to be even better, was the fact that he kept trying to show himself to be the guy when LeBron was coronated before he even won anything.
Hilariously enough, though, it honestly didn't matter because Kobe still has more rings than LeBron.
Yeah.
Kobe is still, I don't know. See, LeBron right now is probably the best player in the NBA, and it took him a while to get there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But regardless, Kobe Bryant is still one of the best players in the history of the game, and the game will miss him.
No doubt about it.
It's interesting to say that, but the game is going to miss him because he is one of its legendary figures. So I don't know. We'll miss Kobe, but you know what? You're right. Kobe Bryant made the NBA interesting on a Sunday in late November. So good on him.
It's really interesting too because a lot was made in the last. I mean, a few years back when we were talking like Shaq retired and all these guys, old guard guys, the last of the 90s and early 2000s retired, and Kobe was kind of like the bridge.
Kind of.
He was like that last guy that got imparted wisdom from the old guard. So now you're pretty much saying goodbye to that old era, and you're now into the new era of the LeBrons, the Carmelos, the Chris Pauls, the Blake Griffins, the Kevin Durants. It's not, and it's okay. Tim Duncan's probably the only other guy left.
Admittedly, it's a bit of a downgrade, but still,
it is. But you do, but that's, I mean, once Tim Duncan retires, that's it. Like all those old guard guys are gone.
Yeah.
It's already a completely different NBA, but it's gonna be it's at least you had some remnants of that old guard left. Now it's gonna be gone, and that is kind of a sad reality because that it has lost a lot of intensity. It has lost a lot of that kind of passion that was there. It is what it is. And he will be missed. He will definitely be missed, and he will be still involved in the game. I think we all know that. Heck, I think Magic Johnson, him and Magic Johnson are very close. He'll probably be involved in some of Magic's ventures. Magic Johnson already is involved in ownership in the Dodgers. He'll probably get in a group with Magic Johnson and try to purchase a part of the Lakers or something. Who the heck knows? But he has options. He'll do something. We'll still be seeing him around. But, it won't be the same. And like you said, he's a Hall of Famer and he will be missed. All right, so from the Kobe Bryant retirement, real quickly, we're going to address this because we're not going to talk long about this at all because it speaks for itself. We're going to jump to a little bit of baseball. And really all this time of year, all we do talk about is, signings, free agency, any big trades. And there's been a few little trades and a few little things going on. But the biggest domino fell on Tuesday when the Boston Red Sox signed David Price to a 7-year, $217 million deal. Dave Dombrowski, of course, the new GM of the Boston Red Sox. Dave Dombrowski of the Detroit Tigers, who is known for, going after big players, known for going after big trades. He's not a very patient guy. He goes and makes these moves quick. He makes a decision. He goes and does it quick. Only thing downside to him is he does tend to kind of gut the farm system a little bit to make some moves. But nonetheless, he knew the Red Sox needed a pitcher. You know, he's gotten a closer and a pitcher in the last month, both needs for the Red Sox. Let me just say this, because there's really not much that can be said here. On the surface, you think great move to the Red Sox, right? And look, the Red Sox's options were not very, very much here. There are some good starters on the market, but the two frontline starters out there are Greinke and David Price. Greinke, we've heard for years now, is very particular about where he plays. He's got anxiety issues. Now, granted, he did go to a big market with the Dodgers, and he's done very well there. But the Dodgers, you know, I mean, even though the Dodgers are a big market and they're one of these big teams, it's not the same as being in like the. I don't mean that as a slight. It's just not the same as being on a New York Yankees team or a Boston Red Sox team. Those markets are a little more harsh on you. I don't think that Greinke could handle the Red Sox, and I don't think the Red Sox feel he could, which is why David Price, who has done very well in Fenway Park over his course of his career, is used to pitching the AL East. You know, and look, he had one of his best years of his career last year. However, his postseason struggles continued last year. And that's the thing that we talked about. And I'll eat crow on it. I had jumped on the David Price bandwagon last year. You know, the way he pitched in the regular season last year for Toronto was absolutely magnificent. But he returned back to what makes him, to me, a liability when big games come around. Now, we learned that here and there he can pitch a big game in a regular season. But what we have yet to learn is whether he can do that in the playoffs. He has been horrible in the playoffs. And here's the thing: for the Red Sox, you know, they're in a position where, hey, we gotta go get an ace. We gotta go get somebody, because their whole rotation is a bunch of 3s and 4s and injury-prone guys. And this doesn't exactly. I mean, look, I think the closer thing is a bigger deal for them. I think that getting a closer was a big thing for them, but. This is going to help, yes. He's going to win a lot of games for them, yes. Problem is, you signed him for 7 years, so the tail end of his career is going to be like CC Sabathia all over again. So at that, you're going to have to live with that if you're a Red Sox fan. But you know what? If you're a big market team, you live with that. That's the way you deal. It doesn't really improve them that much. That's only one pitcher. They easily need another two pitchers just to fill the gaps. And it doesn't have to be a number one. It just needs to be more like at least a number 3, because the guys they got in there now are just not, you know, they can be good if they stay healthy and things fall into place, but you can't, if you're the Red Sox, you can't deal in shoulds and coulds. You did that last year. Look what happened. And that's what they're trying to go. And Dave Dombrowski's being aggressive, and that's what he was brought in to do. Get things back on the winning track. This is David Ortiz's last year. They want to try to go all out. They saw the Yankees start to make a comeback last year. You know, Tampa's been competitive. Baltimore's been competitive. Toronto made the playoffs last year. They're trying to stay in this thing. I don't like this deal for the obvious reasons, as I mentioned. Now, I understand, but I do understand why the Red Sox did it. It's one of those things I don't like, but I understand why they did it. I understand they need to get somebody, and this is the big fish they could get. And it makes a statement to their fan base that we went and got the biggest pitcher on the market, or one of them. So at least they can do, and they went and got the one that has the more seasoned experience within their division, within their ballpark. So I understand that. But if you read between the lines, you're going to see a pitcher that does not pitch well in the postseason. And that is all that matters. If you're going to do this to get to the postseason, well, you want to know that he's going to be able to pitch in the postseason effectively. He has yet to prove that. So to me, it doesn't help. It doesn't do much for your end game. It might get you there or help to get you there, but it doesn't do much for your end game. And then you throw in the fact that you gave him all this money in all those years when he's a 32-year-old pitcher. You're going to have him until he's 39, and you've seen how bad. And he's got. I think he's among the league leaders in innings pitched for starting pitchers over the last few years. He is not going to be maybe he'll be a better pitcher later in his career. And by that I mean maybe he'll learn to adjust to the fact that he can't throw hard later on in his career, and he'll learn how to pitch better, like more like a Mike Messina or like Roger Clemens or an Andy Pettit, where once their stuff started to drop, once they started to realize they didn't have that dominant, the kind of fastball that they had when they were younger, they learned how to pitch. They learned that they could get by with certain things. They learned about being more focused on location. Maybe he will. He's a smart guy. Maybe he will make the adjustments and handle it better than a CC Sabathia has or some other pitchers in the past have. But I would say a good 70 to 80% of the time, you don't see that. And you see the pitcher really struggle late in his career with these kind of contracts. So that's a hang up as well. But I understand why they made the deal. They had to make a big splash, and there isn't a whole lot offensively they could do. And where they were really hurt last year was pitching. So they addressed the bullpen a little bit. They needed starters. They needed a frontline starter. They went and got one. Whether his playoff numbers are good or not, I guess they had to live with what they have to live with. Now they really do need, I think, 2 more pitchers. Buchholz can be a number 2, so you can live with that. But you probably need another, at least you need a number 3 star, maybe one more of those kind of guys, like middle tier starter. And you probably, as long as you stay healthy, are good enough to at least make the playoffs with that. So I can't say it's a good signing, but I can say it's an understandable signing with some hangups. That's what I can say. And look, there have been a couple smaller, like I said a few minutes ago, a couple smaller deals in baseball, a couple little things here, but not really nothing big. There's been hints of something big. You heard rumors about Robinson Cano wanting out of Seattle. I don't think that's going to happen. You've heard a couple little rumblings, but nothing big. This has been the big thing. Now, the winter meetings are coming up, and obviously we'll cover that here on the show. If there's any big signings or big trades or any big rumors next week and beyond, we'll cover it, obviously. But there hasn't been much in the way of movement yet. And I don't think anybody really expected it to. Usually you don't see any big movement until the first big domino falls, where the first big domino has fallen. The market's been set. You're going to see pitchers get big deals. That's just the bottom line. It's been happening for years now. David Price didn't really have to get this kind of contract to kind of set the market, but it seems like every year somebody that first domino has to fall to set the market. Just in case, just in case people thought that the market might come back down to a reasonable level, which I don't think it's ever going to, especially for pitchers. Left-handed ones have that. But it is what it is. And, the first domino has fallen. We'll see what happens. Mike, do you have anything to contribute on the David Price to the Red Sox conversation?
Okay, I had to set up for that one. All right. The David Price to the Red Sox situation. Okay, my contribution is this. Am I the only one who is really tired right now of hearing Adele's Hello on the radio when I play it?
No, you're not.
I recognize that she has a wonderful voice. I do. It's just, look, I'm just not a fan of her songwriting skills. It's like with this song, Hello. Like, it's $1 million chorus until you actually get to the second part of it, in which he's like so entitled. At least I could say that I've tried. Well, you're the one who broke his heart in the first place. You don't get to say that. It's just like so entitled. I don't like that part. And clearly I'm like, well, no, he clearly doesn't want to talk to you. So it's like, stop being a clingy ex-girlfriend who desires and needs his affirmation that, no, it's okay, that I broke your heart and can move on. It's like, no, your ex-partner doesn't want to talk to you because you broke their heart. How much sense does that make? Just the whole concept of the song now is kind of stupid. But she's got a really good voice. Mm-hmm. She just needs better songwriters. if you really think about it, she just needs better songwriters. And she needs to stop throwing people under the bus. I feel, even though her ex-boyfriend apparently was the one who did her wrong in the previous album, I feel bad for him because she wrote an entire album, made him like the most hated man in the world. Which is funny if you think about how many more hated people were in the world at that time. Much like David Price, who had pitched for the Tampa Bay Rays. He was pretty hated when he was actually doing pretty well in the playoffs for the Rays. I think he was involved pretty heavily. And then he started sucking in the playoffs. So good on David Price for getting paid. Much like Adele. He got paid for his regular season skills. When it comes time for hit in the playoffs, well, you're going to go far with your regular season skills. However, you just need that little bit of extra good writing to kind of get you that extra length. And when it comes down to it, he just doesn't have it at this time, much like Adele and that stupid song, which I really don't want to hear anymore. So to my radio stations, hello, stop playing this fucking song. Could you play something that's a little better? Like really kind of anything, if you think about it. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Wow.
And I tied it together with your stupid baseball story, so you're welcome.
I love how you got your opinion about Adele and and then tied it into the subject. It was impressive. Wow. See, you needed a little bit of a break. We're back on your game. Wow.
No, I'm actually half asleep and I need rest.
Okay.
This is not so much me being back in my game as much as it is a desperate call for help. There is a reason the camera's not on. For the record.
All right. Well, anyway. Well, at least we got something for you on the Price situation. So, all right. So, we'll obviously, like I said, that is the first big signing of the season here. And obviously, with the winter meetings and stuff, we'll continue to cover all the big MLB signings and whatnot over the next few weeks. Because, by Christmas, usually all the big names are off the market. So, we'll definitely do further coverage. We haven't been really doing MLB stuff for the last few weeks because there hasn't been anything going on. But things should be picking up, especially after the Price signing. All right. So from baseball, we jump back into the basketball realm. And you all know Thanksgiving week is a big week for college basketball, even though people tend to focus more on football. Got a lot of holiday tournaments, big things going on. Just a few of the big things. Syracuse won the battle for Atlantis. Duke won the 2K Sports Classic. Villanova. Was it the preseason NIT they won? I think it was. There's big you had, let's see, the big ACC Big Ten Challenge over the last few days. Wisconsin beat Syracuse, which was their first big game of the season, first big win of the season. They were struggling. Let's see. You had I just lost my train of thought. I apologize for that. Wow, I really did lose my train of thought. That is horrible. I had it all mapped out. I just lost it right out.
Preseason tournament, Brian.
Yes, I know, Mike. I'm just trying to think about the game I was going to mention. Yeah, I really lost my train of thought. Okay. You had Carolina and Maryland play a classic. There it is. Where Carolina 189-81. You had wow. Week for me. I'm just blanking on everything today. That's what happens when you two shows in one day, folks. Michigan State and Louisville play a great one with Michigan State survived. Duke was all over Indiana. As I mentioned, Wisconsin beat Syracuse. Butler and Cincinnati played a great one last night, which Butler won on the last second. There's a lot of great games and a lot of great in the tournaments over the weekend. Very, very impressive wins by a number of teams. in their respective tournaments. I think if you're talking about the most impressive, everybody seemed to be impressed with Syracuse at last. We're not even being homers about that. We just are saying that. Well, I should say we're not trying to be homers. We're just pointing out that they beat 2 ranked teams in the tournament to win that tournament, and they're the only team going into this week to beat 2 ranked teams. So that speaks volumes why they jumped into the top 25s and we're firmly in. And the loss to Wisconsin sucks, but what are you gonna do? They definitely had the most impressive week. Nobody else had that much of a road to win their respective tournament. Although you have to be impressed with Duke's performance, you have to be very impressed with Villanova, who's been very good under the radar. Maryland had been surviving by the skin of team. North Carolina got a very big, much-needed win against Maryland. And I'm telling you right now, if you haven't seen Melo Trimble is just a fantastic basketball player. If you haven't watched Maryland, Maryland will only go as far as Melo Trimble. He's just that good. He makes everybody around him better. He's that good of a player. It was a great week of college basketball, and it showed you the depth of talent. And I think if you've been following the games over the early season here, including these early season tournaments, you know that the quality of play, and I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, the quality of play has been much better this year. The new shot clock, I think, has helped. Offense is up, a lot of high-scoring games, a lot of more efficient games. Not so much relying on the 3 ball, even though there are still a lot of teams out there shooting threes primarily. It's just been a much better game to watch. This run. So, it's been an early season so far. I think the most impressive team, I think Kentucky's been impressive. I think Michigan State's been very impressive. Maryland, I thought wasn't. Even though Maryland had a couple close calls, I still was impressed with Maryland. Iowa State's been impressive. Villanova's been very impressive early on here. I thought Syracuse was impressive in the Bahamas. Before that, not so much. Last night, not so much. Those are the teams that have impressed me the most early on here. I think those are the teams that I thought had the most impressive showings so far. And an important distinction to note too. Over this last week, Tom Izzo got his 500 career victory, which is huge. I think he might be among the youngest to get that. So that's huge for him. Well, I was one of the great coaches in the game. So that's some of the big highlights over the last week. I'm not trying to be vague on purpose. It's just that so much happened, and we don't have enough time to go through every little detail. Mike, you have any highlights or thoughts on things that have transpired in the college game over the last week or so?
All right. The last week or so, well, I was impressed with Syracuse. I was very impressed with Syracuse. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. I was very impressed with Syracuse until last night. In which case, their offense betrayed them. And look, they were not reliant on the 3 in Atlantis. They weren't. They were a well-rounded team. Last night showed me a team that was reliant on outside shooting to get anything going. In the Dome, where half of your games are going to be played. And I'm talking about Syracuse because that's really one of the few teams I've followed recently. But the truth is, this team is going to be a team that leaves you gray watching their games. You're going to have a little bit more gray hair somewhere on your face at some point at the end of the game, by the end of the game. And it shouldn't be like that. They went to a neutral court, beat Connecticut, who was a top 20 team, who probably will be a top 20 team all year. And you beat what was the other team? Texas A&M, who's going to be a top 25 team or contend for it all year. And you would have played Gonzaga, And you probably, honestly, Syracuse probably could have beaten them too. Maybe. 65% chance. And you played like a complete team. You had your outside shots going. You had an inside game. Against Wisconsin, they forgot how to defend in the post. They lost Tyler Lydon. They decided that Tyler Cooney as an offensive option was a great idea. They lost Michael Benajay at times. Their three-point shooting was terrible. The fact that it even went into overtime was a good sign for Syracuse. But they didn't deserve to win that game. And then you have your entire overtime period and not score a point. Chances are you're going to lose if that's the case. Wisconsin played a hell of a game, but Syracuse handed them most of it. They just need to learn to, not lose guys. They need to score. They need to learn how to use the inside to open up the outside, and that means starting Tyler Lydon. Who for me was the most impressive player that I've seen this year, and that's because nobody expected anything of that kid, and he just burst onto the national scene. And if Syracuse does well this year, he's going to be the reason. Villanova was hella impressive. They're just ass kicking everybody. I don't know. Butler beat Cincinnati. Butler has been contending for a top 25 position all year. They think they fell out. Now they're probably going to be back in. Hells yeah. Michigan State's been pretty good. I haven't seen them too much. But I know they've been pretty good. Villanova's just been kicking ass on all cylinders. Now they're in their Big Six. And the thing is with the Big Six, everybody's seen Villanova, so it's not surprising. So teams like St. Joe's and LaSalle will be more competitive than they reasonably should be. So, just saying. But Villanova has been hella good. I'm waiting for Maryland to really show up. I'm really waiting for Maryland to show up. Did they get that player back?
Maryland?
Yeah.
What player?
The one that was injured.
Nobody was injured on Maryland.
Who was injured then?
Carolina.
It was Carolina.
Marcus Page?
Marcus Page. Did he come back?
Yeah, he played against Maryland. He had a big game, yeah. He played. Okay. Yep.
So the fact that Marcus Page came back, which is probably why Carolina beat Maryland to begin with, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
God, Syracuse took 24 three-pointers. Ugh, that's embarrassing. That's like Michigan numbers. God. It's terrible. But, yeah. Once Marcus Page gets really back into the swing of things, and they did because they beat the shit out of Maryland. Not really. They won by 8. But they beat Maryland. And their excellent player, Captain Baba Ganoush, what's his name? The guy you were just talking about. Who was the guy you were just talking about?
Marcus Page.
Marcus Page. No, from Maryland.
Oh, Trimble,
yes. He's really, really good.
Yeah.
So, once despite him being excellent, he's going to be a force when they get into the Big Ten. I think the kid from Carolina and the Tar Heels are going to be a force now to be reckoned with in the ACC. The only thing that could possibly stop them is NCAA sanctions, which should be coming eventually. What's funny is that, and I have to give a shout out to Jay Billis. He brought this for, was it Jay Billis? It might have been Jay Williams, one of the two. Probably is Billis because this is in his wheelhouse. He brought up the fact that NCAA, when investigating Boeheim, it took like a few months to do it. However, when the NCAA found that itself had violated its own rules, it had a 2-week investigation.
Yep.
That was it. That sounds like Billis. So I have to give the NCAA credit. When it comes to investigating other people and getting it hella wrong, the NCAA will take its sweet-ass time. But when it comes to when they did something that was hella wrong, they will try to wrap that up really quickly so they can go back to what really matters. Exploiting kids. Having them play sport for free while they make all the money. Yeah, that's what the NCAA does. And then make terrible decisions. Hey, Joe Paterno covers up child rape for several years. Oh, let's take all his wins back. Oh, he died too. Oh, but he covered up child rape. Oh, let's give him all his wins back. Hey, Jim Boeheim self-reported everything and then fixed all of his own problems. Oh, let's take away half of his wins. But he fixed everything and got it back into compliance. Let's still keep all of his wins away. And give him the suspension. And take away some stuff. But he wasn't covering up child rape. Who cares? There's the NCAA logic. Fuck you, NCAA, and fuck you, Mark Emmert, you piece of shit.
Wow.
That is my quality NCAA analysis. Can you tell?
Well, I appreciate the fact you transitioned to what was going to be the end of this NCAA talk, which was the Boeheim stuff that came out today. All right, so I guess I'll just transition right into it because we already really highlighted most of the big wins and the big games over the last week. All right, so today the NCAA. Now, last week the word came down that Syracuse's school appeal had resulted in them regaining 4 scholarships over the next 4 years. But the wins would still be vacated from their initial penalty and everything else basically upheld. Oh, and I think the school got some money back too. Boeheim's separate appeal result got out today, and it is that his suspension will be upheld, but it will start immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Basically acknowledging that they got it wrong the first time and he should have been missing the games now and actually I think coming back right around now or within a week or so.
Yeah.
That's what basically just happened. And by the way, let me just issue this to you. Jeff Goodman, who writes for ESPN.com and is also an ESPN analyst, he wrote a great piece on this. This is what was said about this. Okay, this is a quote from, I guess, the article about it. And I quote, "The appeals committee determined that the NCAA Committee on Infractions abused its discretion by directing the suspension be served during conference play because Coach Boeheim was not directly involved in the underlying violations of the case. The appeals committee determined the 9-game suspension may apply to non-conference games and be served immediately." End quote. So it took them all this time, and keep in mind, Boeheim's appeal began what, May or March of this year? March of this year.
Yeah.
And it took them this long to realize they screwed up.
They did more than screw up. They totally messed it up. And the fact that it took them this long to even kind of fix it is embarrassing. But hey, that is the NCAA.
And you know what the worst part is? The worst part is during this whole process, they issued a penalty to Larry Brown that was the penalty that they didn't give to Boeheim, that everybody thought was the penalty that made the most sense. Larry Brown got suspended for the first 9 games of the season. Boeheim got the conference game one and ended up giving him essentially the same one as Brown, but late into the season, so he misses conference games anyway.
He misses the first 3 conference games, and he misses the Georgetown game.
Right.
Dick move, NCAA. Dick move.
And by the way, Boeheim apparently told ESPN.com's Dana O'Neill that he didn't even have the opportunity to tell his players that the NCAA was instructing him to walk away for the next 33 days after Friday's practice.
Dick move, NCAA. Dick move.
He can't have contact with his players, but he doesn't even have the chance to tell them. And I don't know, Mike, if you've been following Jay Billis's tweets today.
Not a lot.
But this is what he said. Okay, of course, I'm going to quote these because he's 100% right. These are all quotes and tweets from Jay Billis. You mentioned they're doing on Total Mass and Trust on Twitter. I'm paraphrasing that one, but here these are all official quotes. This is the first one. Syracuse: a 10-year investigation over 2 basketball players, 3 football players, overpaid for YMCA job, a drug testing issue in 1 paper, disproportionate. Here's another one. The Boeheim is disallowed from communicating with staff or players in the suspension is unjustifiable, horrible policy. Here's an interesting one. Syracuse is trying to determine whether the athletic director is allowed to communicate with Boeheim during the suspension. They don't know if he can or not.
He should be able to.
But apparently Syracuse doesn't know if he can or not.
Wow, I'm glad that rule is made clear.
Remember, you got to be able to keep your program in compliance, even though most of the stuff in the handbook is hard to figure out. And then here's another one. I challenge any NCAA administrator to justify policy that a head coach cannot communicate with players or staff during a suspension. And then the final 2 were NCAA Appeals Committee delivers its simple ruling after 7 games played. Really, Boeheim's suspension should be over December 8th. NCAA investigated itself after its unethical actions Miami case. This is the one you mentioned. Wrapped up in 2 weeks. This long over the start of Boeheim's suspension.
Yep. Isn't it great?
Now, I want to focus on one tweet in particular. And that is the one about the fact that, if you're suspended, you can't communicate with your players or staff. Here's what I don't, and this is the one that everybody fixates on, and 100% around across the board, everybody thinks is completely wrong. How can you tell a head coach to keep his program in check and in compliance with NCAA policy if he can't be around his team? So what happens if something is not in compliance with the NCAA while Boeheim's away from the team? You're going to suspend him again because it happened under his tutelage? You can't do anything to him. He wasn't around.
I'm pretty sure then they'd probably go the next guy on the list, which would be Mike Hopkins this time, or Jerry McNamara, depending on which side of the scale you fall under. But the thing with Boeheim is utterly ridiculous. My major gripe with the entire NCAA investigation is obviously the win part, but this would be the other one. Because they don't know what the right thing is to do. Obviously, when they made this rule, I feel like it was due to some sort of corruption charges. Maybe the coach was involved with the boosters and some, I don't know, University of Miami. The coach was involved in with the boosters there, and ergo was the reason why they needed to keep the coach away from the program, Miami. So, but that was those are only a couple of cases. That's not something that should be. That should be a case. There should be a determined case-by-case basis. In this case, the NCAA overreacted, overruled, and just did a terrible job. Should Boeheim have been suspended? Sure, why not? Should he have gotten all of those games? Absolutely not. Should they have gotten scholarships taken away? Probably. Should they have gotten money taken away? Maybe a little bit. Should they have had the wins taken away? No, that was a dumbass decision, and they know it. Should the suspension be as long as they levied? Absolutely not. Should he have served it from the beginning of the season? No shit. So in the end, it's like, what the hell were you guys doing? What were they thinking? They have no idea what they were doing. They have no idea what they were thinking. They just pulled it out of their ass and hoped for the best.
And you know what? what really bothers me about the whole thing too is you punish student athletes that have nothing to do with any of this.
Exactly.
You punished that. Last year you punished them. Now that was self-imposed, of course, by the university, but they did it because they sensed it was going to come down anyway. Self-imposed postseason ban, so they can't make the postseason. Then the original plan was to suspend Boeheim for the conference game, so you're going to hurt them at one of the most crucial parts of the season. Mm-hmm. You shut the coach off from the team, and then you want to vacate wins, which hurts the university, and it hurts all those players that worked hard to get those wins.
Yep.
But, we're doing this for the good of no, you're not doing it for anything but the fact that there's more. And you want to know what's really funny, too, is when this decision came down this morning, it's funny, you almost think it was malicious, like, oh, we just don't like it. You almost think it was personal, like, oh, we just don't like Boeheim, so we did it. We screwed it up on purpose to annoy everybody.
No, honest to God, I believe it was malicious. I believe the NCAA has failed to be professional in a very long time. I think Boeheim has been one of the biggest critics. AA. 100% he's been one of the top critics of the NCAA, so it's just an opportunity to kind of get him back. And here's the thing. Boeheim didn't do anything terrible. He didn't. So, and this is why I just have such an issue. Just such an issue, because the only real comparison is Joe Paterno. I mean, the only real comparison is Joe Paterno. And what they do to him? They took his wins away. What Joe Paterno did was an accessory to a crime. It was 100%. It was an accessory to a crime, and they restored every single one of those wins. Every single one. So it's just a bunch of unprofessional, just idiots. Just idiots. On that panel, and it's disgusting. It is disgusting, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Syracuse homer, and I am a Syracuse homer for full disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying it because when it comes down to it, the NCAA is terribly corrupt, and it refuses to hold itself up to the standards it tries to set, tries to impose. It refuses. It took itself 2 weeks to investigate itself. Are you kidding me? It won't even put itself up to the same standards it tries to put everybody else up to.
Right.
And when it comes down to it, it won't hold itself up to the same standard. It is delicious. It is terribly corrupt. It is embarrassing.
Right.
And I did see, and a couple people hold this belief, that eventually the power conferences are going to get tired of this nonsense. And they're going to pull out. And eventually the NCAA will be a thing of the past. So in the end, the NCAA was going to lose everything. And that's just a belief. Within the next 10 years, the NCAA will go the way of the mid-major, if you think, if you will.
Look.
So?
I think, I know we're being very harsh about the Joe Paterno thing, may rest in peace, but here's the thing. The fact is, they made such a big thing about, and in a lot of ways, people thought they get the Penn State as close to the death penalty as they could possibly give them.
And they should have.
And they should, right. And they took away those wins, making a big deal about those wins, and then they gave them right back. So they made this
within a month, by the way.
Right. They made this big public spectacle, and then they caved. And then on something like this, which is far less of an issue, okay, that was done, okay. This was a violation. the Penn State thing was there was a crime involved. What the Syracuse did was a violation that was self-reported. The school even took it upon themselves to do a postseason ban
themselves, and they would have made the playoffs last year.
So right? But I mean, I just don't. Again, there's nothing that makes any sense except for the fact that they're being malicious about it, and that's what they do. That's what they like to do. They're malicious. They hold things up. These investigations go on for years. The Syracuse investigation went on for 10 years. There's no excuse for a 10-year investigation. No excuse. I can't see an investigation lasting longer than a year or two. But they drag these things out because they want to embarrass the universities. They want to stick it to them. It's like they got this superiority thing and they want to stick it to you. Well, you dare to violate our policies. You dare to do this. You dare to do that. So we're going to drag this out and make it torturous for you. If you read Boeheim's book, you know that. He said it's been torturous, this whole thing. Because you never knew when the shoe was going to drop. Here's the thing. Okay, and if you read this Jeff Goodman article, he points out a couple of really good things. Nobody should be surprised by the NCAA. I'm going to read this quote from his article right here. And I quote, this is from Jeff Goodman's article on ESPN.com. This is the same organization that didn't inform Kansas freshman Cheek Diallo why he wasn't allowed to play in the first 5 games of the season. It's the same organization that was prepared to let Tackle Fall miss the entire season despite the fact he had a 3.6 GPA his last 2 years of high school until the public scrutiny was too much for the NCAA to handle. NCAA Commissioner Mark Emmert needs to make sure his employees take Common Sense 101. End quote.
That would imply he has common sense himself.
This whole thing is they just every year they get worse and worse. They don't even abide by the last thing they said. They're incompetent. Beyond that, they're worse than incompetent. And they don't get it. And you know what the sad part is? You know that they read these countless articles bashing them and all the fans telling them that they're what they do is completely and utterly stupid. Well, you know what they think? They probably sit back there and laugh and go, "Well, what are you going to do about it?"
Well, fix your shit. That would be what you would do.
Because you know what? It just makes it. If you ever read, and I've done a lot of research on, if you ever read their bylaws and most of their rules, and I'm going to be honest with you. And look, I know I'm for me and people might say, well, you know what? Maybe you just don't understand. Look, I've seen people that are actual attorneys try to read the NCAA bylaws and say, I can't understand any of this. They make it unnecessarily vague. If attorneys at law are telling you that your language is vague, you have an issue. You have an issue. Time and time again, we hear coaches and some of the most highly regarded coaches that never had a violation in their career look at at an NCAA bylaw and say, "Hey, I have no idea what this means. We just do our best guess and hope we got it right." So much of what they do makes absolutely no sense, and they unnecessarily punish student athletes, which are the group that they're supposed to represent the most. They unnecessarily punish ones that had nothing to do with anything. The way they handle these situations are completely and utterly ridiculous. And they constantly prove themselves to be more and more dumb as time goes by. It really is ridiculous. You feel bad for you feel bad for the student athletes more than anybody else. And the fans too, because you know these are all people that have nothing to do with it. It's a stupid thing, and you know what? You like to think they learned their lesson, and like you said, fix this garbage that keeps happening, but. And North Carolina's next on the list, and that one's just a slippery, as we talked about. So it gets into Dean Smith, may rest in peace. It gets into a lot of things. I don't even know how they're going to handle that.
Well, Jay Billis said, and I quote, "They're not." He said there is a precedent in this case in which the NCAA had a similar thing with Michigan in 2008, and they didn't do the equivalent of jack shit. So they probably won't.
Well, that's their easy way out.
They probably won't because it's an academic accreditation issue. It's not an athletic issue. Although the issue has to do exclusively with the athletics. The NCAA is not going to do a damn thing about North Carolina. However, their accreditation might take a hit. However, the NCAA, he said the NCAA needs to create, instead of looking for back-end policy, with something like this, they need to create the policy. They need to make an example of North Carolina. So the question is, are you going to do that with a golden goose?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to go out there and actually actively make an example out of a golden goose? Because this is what it all comes down to in the end. Money. If let's say this happened to Duke, are you going to go out there and really make Duke basketball an example? Kentucky? You're going to make North Carolina an example. UCLA, you're going to make them an example too?
Mm-hmm.
The answer, no. You're going to tuck your tail behind your legs, and you're going to, behind and in between your legs, and you're going to turn around and walk away like a bitch. The NCAA is not going to do a damn thing about North Carolina. North Carolina will play the bitch card, and the NCAA will gracefully accept it, turn their tail, and walk away. And probably nothing's going to happen to North Carolina. North Carolina should probably get the death penalty for this, because this is academic fraud going back 3 decades? 4 decades? Academic fraud going back about 20 to 40 years. Just to allow your teams to play basketball and football and any other sport. And the NCAA will take the bitch card and they'll walk away.
Mm-hmm.
Because why? And here's the thing. Roy Williams has not been a big critic of the NCAA. Why would he? Business is good. Yeah. So there it is.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a very, very interesting situation, the way they handle that. All right. So we ranted enough about the NCAA and the Boeheim thing. So that's it for as far as our sports coverage and college basketball and NBA and MLB. To end the night, we'll do a little wrestling here. And again, as I mentioned in the open, it's going to probably focus more on Wrestlemania than it probably should, but it's going to, because really what's going on Raw right now is not exactly entertaining. As you know, Sheamus is the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. He has now started a stable by the name of League of Nations, and now Roman Reigns has a stable, which he's calling the Family, apparently. At least that's the rumor, which includes Dean Ambrose and the Usos. And, you know, in a lot of ways, they kind of buried that stable on SmackDown. Spoiler alert. Nonetheless, that's really what's been the focal point. You know, Sheamus got the authority in the League of Nations, and you know they're now Lana and Rusev back. They're now embracing their relationship and pushing it to the forefront. We got a Swagger Del Rio feud. The Divas. There was a little bit of a shift on Monday, which is probably the most interesting part of the show, as Charlotte kind of pulled a heel-like move with her father involving Becky Lynch. So we don't know where we're going there. So that's among the highlights of the last few weeks as far as Raw goes. And of course, right now, all eyes are on what will WWE do for WrestleMania, because I think of most of us thought by this point we'd have some idea, at least coming out of Survivor Series. I think that's the way we set it up, that we'd have some idea. Well, we don't. the Sheamus cash in, kind of, if Owens, Kevin Owens, or Dean Ambrose, somebody had won the tournament and walked out as champion, we might have some idea. But with Sheamus walking out as champion, a lot of things are uncertain. And then there's rumors that WWE, even though it's been said that Vince McMahon's not worried about ratings, there's been rumors from a number of well-placed dirt sheet sources that WWE has went back to scratch on WrestleMania plans. All possible matches were thrown out. We had heard nothing about WrestleMania until today, when Court Bauer, who is a former WWE creative writer who does a podcast with Conan, who many of you know. Conan. Pardon me. Conan. Pardon me. I always get that name wrong.
Conan. You should be embarrassed.
Sorry. I apologize. Conan. No offense, Matt. Okay.
Conan. He was a big wrestler in the late 80s into the late 90s.
Well, I wasn't a big wrestling fan in the 80s, so relax. I got the name wrong. I apologize.
Justin gets the network for us.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of stuff to watch, so relax. All right.
And technically, I give him some kickbacks once in a while.
Anyway, all right. So on that podcast, Court Bauer, who's been spoiling a lot of WWE stuff recently, especially involving the Divas, and been right about everything. He said that they're going to do that controversial promo a couple weeks ago. He mentioned the Charlotte heel turn on Monday. Both scoops were right. He did on a podcast the other day mention that WrestleMania, 3 of the matches currently being discussed for WrestleMania this year are now Roman Reigns versus Triple H, John Cena versus Undertaker, which has been rumored before now, and the big surprise, Brock Lesnar versus Kevin Owens. And just to throw this in there, because I know a lot of people look at Dave Meltzer as the guy when it comes to dirt sheet and stuff, material and stuff. Dave Meltzer said that he did not deny the report and said it could be true, but he doesn't think Brock knows about it yet.
Okay.
So what we have here is really among some of the matches that we kind of speculated about before Survivor Series as potentially good matches that they could do. I think it'd be a far better card than what their original card was, which was likely Rock versus Triple H and, probably Taker versus Brock and all that. It's a much better card. But I want to point to the direction of my co-host who texted me when I told him about this earlier today and said, what is the WWE title match? That's a good question, because we don't know anything of that. None of the scoops that have gotten out today or recently allude to that, especially among these matches. I think the general sense is it would not be the Cena-Taker match. And it likely wouldn't be the Triple H Roman Reigns match. So either the title match is Owens versus Lesnar, and you have one or the other win the Rumble. There's a lot of talk about Lesnar winning the Rumble. There was talk at one point of Owens winning the Rumble. They were actually both of the top favorites a couple months ago to win the Rumble among betting sites and such. So maybe one of them wins the Rumble and the other wins the title at the Royal Rumble to build that match. Or the title stays on Sheamus and you go back to a Vince McMahon potential favorite match, Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan if he's cleared, or you do like a Sheamus versus Dean Ambrose match for the title. So let me throw to my co-host here, Mike, your response to the rumored new matches here and what you think the WWE title match might be if those are the matches we get.
I think I've talked about Dean Ambrose versus Sheamus for a while now. Mm-hmm. Now that it's a possibility, I just want to say I told you so. Look, I know Daniel Bryan, if he's cleared, is going to be in that match. The thing is, I don't think Daniel Bryan is going to be cleared. Not anytime soon. I honestly think Dean Ambrose is the better choice, and if you're including him in the stable known as the family, it might be a great choice. Roman Reigns versus Triple H is something they've been building up since Seth Rollins went down. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. because I'm actually nowhere near my microphone.
I can hear you. You're good.
So yeah, Roman Reigns is probably the guy they shuttled right into the Triple H role, Triple H match, and Triple H is probably going to get Roman Reigns, and he's probably going to put Roman Reigns over. That's just how it is. Owens versus Lesnar has been mentioned as a potential match for a very long time. So the fact that Brock doesn't know about it is ridiculous. I think he does know about it. I think he's known about it for a while. But I don't think he knew about firm plans. I think there was an understanding that he knew it was a possibility. I think he knew it was a possibility. I didn't know if he felt like it was a definite thing. But I think he felt like Owens was probably on the match of challengers that he would accept. Because Brock gets to approve all of his opponents, except for Roman Reigns. He didn't approve Roman Reigns. And he wasn't going to put him over because he's Brock Lesnar. He does what he wants. But I think Owens was on the list of approved guys he wants to wrestle. So he's okay with that. From what I I have all the sources and all the scuttlebutt, that's exactly what it is, scuttlebutt. But Owens versus Lesnar would be a good match. It'd be an interesting match. It would be a violent match. I'm pretty sure we'd see KO break out the package pile driver just to keep Brock down for 2. So much for bringing back that super finisher. But I think Cena versus Taker was also one of those matches that was kind of hinted about being a possible reality. So that the fact that that's kind of looks like it's happening is no surprise. Look, because I think we've said a few times, the matches that were always hypothesized and talked about and debated were for, especially Roman Reigns, were either Cena John Cena, were either Roman Reigns or The Undertaker, and he's losing both of them. The matches for Brock Lesnar were always really varied, and we didn't know what he would get. But Owens was definitely on that list of challengers. Triple H was always thought to get Seth Rollins. But once Rollins went down, Reigns would have been the guy. That means Cena's opponent becomes a little bit more obvious, don't you think?
Yep.
So it kind of evened itself out, if you think about it. But that being said, nothing is set in stone. And the other thing is we don't have a Rumble winner.
No.
So you got Sheamus holding the title now. You pulled the trigger. Do you have him carry it through Mania? Do you have him drop the title to Brock? Do you have him drop the title to Owens? Do you have Brock win the Rumble? Do you have Owens win the Rumble? Do you have Dean Ambrose win the Rumble? These are all questions we need, answers to within the next month. Because I don't know if they know this, but Royal Rumble is in a month.
Yeah.
And the fact that you don't have a Rumble winner in place is a little bit of a thing. It's a lot of bit of a thing.
Well, look, I get, this is the first year in I don't know how long that we do not have a Rumble. I mean, at least I have a list of finalists for the Rumble. I think we have a list of finalists probably at this point, but normally, and you know this, usually I'm telling you by SummerSlam who I heard the Rumble winner might be. This year it's been rough. They've had injuries, they've had a lot of things going on, and I think that shows. And in a way, if the fact that they've scratched the entire card, I'm thinking about doing some of these rumored matches now, this might end up being a better card than they ever could have put on. This could end up helping them.
Hopefully.
I mean, you figure if they run this card, okay, Reigns is going to get put over in a big match. He ain't going to get booed out of the building.
Oh, he's still going to get booed out of the building.
He'll still get booed, but it will be a much better result.
Yeah.
Owens is going to be in a match with Lesnar, and that's going to make him a star.
Allegedly, he's got to go over though. That's the $1 million thing. He's got to win.
And everybody's going to assume he won't. That's what everybody's going to assume. So it'll make the moment even bigger when he does.
He's got to win though. That's the thing.
But yeah, I mean, it is a better card. So, I mean, for what the talent that they have, it's probably the best card they can put on as far as the big matches go. Assuming they don't get anybody to come back like The Rock or Batista or something, and and then it changes a little bit. But we'll see what happens. I mean, again, I think it'd be a better card than what they were going to originally do. So, a couple other little things going around. There's been a lot talking about a focus on Mick Foley and how he said he'd be done with WWE after Monday night if he didn't like what he saw. Apparently, he liked what he saw. Well, I don't know if you know this, Mike, but apparently Dewey Foley has joined WWE Creative, and he will be starting after Christmas.
Dewey Foley.
Yes.
I actually didn't know that.
It's new information. It just got out. He has a creative writing, I think, page or something. I guess WWE hired him. So a lot of people are wondering if maybe it wasn't so much the Diva stuff that Mick mentioned in his blog that changed his mind about turning off WWE. It's the fact that his Dewey Foley is working in creative in a couple of weeks. It'd be kind of bad if he turned it off when, you know what I mean? But yeah,
here's the thing. I think he's going to pay attention more to WWE Creative, but I think it's not going to change Mick's opinion that much.
No.
Obviously, he's going to want to support his kid, but he also enjoys professional wrestling. And the fact that, his son's helping write for the biggest professional wrestling company in the world.
Yeah.
Maybe he got a little bit of dad's creativity. But I think Mick still has the right to be, what's the word? Critical. That's the word. I think he's going to. Maybe he might even be more critical now that his son is writing.
Right.
For the machine. So, who knows?
As much as I just laughed about it, I do not think his stance was in any way affected by it. I don't think him changing his mind about turning it off had anything to do with it. He mentioned specifically the Divas, and he's been all about the Divas since the Divas Revolution.
Yeah.
So I don't think it had anything to do with it. The Divas got some time. They had the big swerve with Charlotte on Monday. I think he was very interested in that, and he liked what he saw, and I think that's what changed his mind. I do not think it had anything to do with Dewey Foley.
No.
But I do think it is interesting that he is joining creative. We'll see if that makes – and yeah, it's not going to make much of a difference on creative because Vince still makes the final decisions. And anybody on creative, you hear it all the time that, everything gets rewrote and redone over and over and over again, including like right before the show. It really doesn't really matter in the broad scheme of things. So, but it is an interesting little, but another thing that got out today, and this is the last thing we're going to talk about, and it's a bone from we're throwing a bone to my co-host here because he's very much a fan of this guy. It has been said that WWE is interested in going after Shinsuke Nakamura. His contract is up in January, and it's already said that WWE is going to be in pursuit of him. So, Mike, that's got to be interesting for you.
I'm going to drop a bit of knowledge on you. And it's not just opinion. It is what it is.
Of course.
Shinsuke Nakamura is a legit competitor. He does have a history in mixed martial arts. He does have a history in wrestling Brock Lesnar. Shinsuke and Brock wrestled for a bit. Then they trained together for a bit, and is probably one of the few people in the planet that Brock Lesnar actually probably respects a little bit. And Shinsuke Nakamura is two things now. He is the most charismatic wrestler in the world. and he is one of the biggest draws in professional wrestling. That is the truth about Shinsuke Nakamura. And the fact that he has some interest in leaving New Japan, at this point in time, he has some interest in leaving New Japan. And he is the one, let's face it, there are 3 guys who are the big stars in New Japan. They are Hiroshi Tanahashi, who is essentially the Japanese John Cena. There is Kazuchika Okada, who is essentially a more correctly pushed Randy Orton. And there is Shinsuke Nakamura, who was probably the biggest draw of the bunch. His matches with Tanahashi, his matches with Okada, his matches with AJ Styles, his matches with Minoru Suzuki, whose name we've talked about a lot here, his matches with, who are the other guys? Tetsuya Naito, his matches with Kota Ibushi have been classics.
Mm-hmm.
Dude can go. Dude is charismatic as hell. Dude's a draw. If you were the WWE, wouldn't you go after the guy too?
Yeah.
Shinsuke Nakamura, here's the thing with Nakamura. If he comes over to the WWE, he should not spend any time in NXT. He literally should walk right into the main event. He should walk right into the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. And he shouldn't be below that because here's the thing. He is the current IWGP Intercontinental Champion over New Japan. Mm-hmm. He has made that title equally as important as the IWGP World Championship. It is currently recognized as kind of a world championship. And that title's inaugural champion was Montel Vontavious Porter. Shinsuke Nakamura took that title and made it into the second world championship for the brand, for New Japan. That is how good this guy is. So Shinsuke Nakamura, I mean, American people just call him like Nakamura now, but it's Shinsuke Nakamura.
Mm-hmm.
Should be the like if they were going to go after only one guy in 2016, it needs to be Nakamura because the dude's a draw. You have Kenta. Kenta's great. Nakamura is more charismatic, infinitely more charismatic. You can turn this guy into whatever you want him to be. Except for a stupid stereotype, and Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn will probably want to do that. Don't do that. Triple H knows better. Also, one final thought. Raw sucked without Kevin Owens. End of discussion.
And you know why he wasn't on?
He was sick.
Flu. Yeah, he was sick.
He had the flu and his son had the flu.
Yeah, that's why he was sent home. That's the only reason why he wasn't on.
Now the big question is, was he supposed to join the League of Nations? And the answer was probably not. Because his whole thing is Kevin Owens is a guy who doesn't get along with anybody.
Right.
So why would he willingly join a stable?
Right.
His goal.
It's kind of like the.
Go ahead. Well, his goal.
It's kind of like the whole Randy.
Yeah, his goal was to be Sheamus. To take the title from Sheamus. Why would he want to join Sheamus? I don't understand.
True. Yeah, it does work against him as a character if he does that. So, for what it's worth, and I think you mentioned this to me earlier when I texted you. You know, he does have a match. His contract ends in January. You could see this happening, and it's been said, and the reports that I've read, it's been said that he wants to do something big in the U.S.
Yeah.
So And he is what? He's just 35, right? I think I read an article. I think he's 35.
It sounds right. He might be
So
30.
assuming that's the case, okay, anywhere in the mid 30s, the chance is probably now for him to do this. So I'm thinking that this can get done, providing they handle him the right way and providing like Triple H handles the negotiation and that. I think it will. And I think you're 100% right. If there's anything I know about this guy is he's the kind of guy that has to walk right into the main event.
He is 35, yes.
Right. Okay. So he is the guy that has to kind of walk right on the main roster into the main event. If you want to utilize him to his fullest potential and make him the draw in your company the way he is right now on his own, then you have to utilize him to his fullest potential and get him in the main event. I think that's the bottom line. I think you said it best. He's his charisma and you can brand him and you can with your brand, and it could be a big boom to your business.
Here's the thing. He is your He is your Asian market.
Yeah.
He is one of the most popular wrestlers on the planet right now. His only rivals, if you really think about it, are Tanahashi and like Cena. And I guess to an extent Kevin Owens and Brock Lesnar. So that's the level he's on.
Right.
He walks in to the world title. He wins the world title. And you have to treat him like a big deal. Now, the thing about Nakamura is he has his scheduled match is at the Wrestle Kingdom. He is wrestling AJ Styles for the Intercontinental Championship. And if his contract is up in January, then that could be one of his last matches for New Japan. So they might make that a big deal too.
We'll see. It's gonna be interesting because WWE has made it a point in the last few weeks. It's been said that they're going after a lot of the big talent in like ROH and New Japan and that. Well, here you go.
And it actually makes sense. It actually makes sense that his contract might be up because they were building him up to be the guy who is, and this is another thing, a little bit more knowledge, and I got to stop dropping knowledge on you because it's 10:04 and I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
The New Japan holds a yearly round-robin tournament called the G1 Climax. And usually the winner of the G1 Climax gets a world title match, or gets to choose what title match they want at the Wrestle Kingdom. They were actually building Nakamura up to win the climax because in the semifinals, he beat his stablemate and the reigning IWGP Heavyweight World Champion, Kazuchika Okada, in the semifinals. But I think at that point they kind of got the sense that he's not resigning yet. So we have to go with the more secure option. So they had to go with the other guy in the finals, who was Hiroshi Tanahashi, which is a lateral move, but you were building Nakamura up. And I think as an apology, they gave him back the Intercontinental Championship for not having. And I mean that's kind of how it goes sometimes.
Right.
But Nakamura was actually built up to win the G1, and they were going to make the whole second half of the year the big Tokyo Dome match with Okada, who is a stablemate. They are stablemates in Chaos, and that's a kind of a big thing in Japan that isn't a big thing here. They were going to make that a big deal all year, having Okada and Nakamura go at each other for New Japan's big the World Championship. which would have done huge buys. But now I think you go back to the well, because honest to God, there are no guys who have wrestled each other more in the last 5 years in big matches than Okada and Tanahashi.
Yeah.
Not even Randy Orton or Sheamus. But then again, Randy Orton and Sheamus don't really wrestle in Mania. So that's your thing. So I guess Nakamura coming and making a big splash in America, in the United States. And where's the one place, if you want to make a big splash, where do you go?
Yeah.
NXT, that's right. WWE.
Yeah.
So he kind of has to come to WWE.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. We'll see. Mike dropping some knowledge on us tonight.
You're welcome.
Well, that's why I brought it up, because I figured you would. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting. It's something. It'll definitely be a big story coming around January and February if he is a free agent. But it looks like it could potentially happen. So it's interesting. All right. So with all that, we are done. We've covered everything we need to cover on the wrestling and sports side. So we are done for today, and my voice is done because I've done 2 shows today, and it's plenty, believe me. But as we wind down, as always, remember the show might be over. It does not mean you have to stop interacting, contributing, or having your voice heard. You can send us your feedback, your questions related to the show schedule, reactions, comments, feedback on anything we said on the show, or things we did on the show, topic ideas, breaking news items, related to sports, entertainment, wrestling. You want to make sure we cover any of those things. We have a wrestling show a week from tonight, previewing WWE's TLC paper. You want to get in questions or comments ahead of time for that. You can also do that during the show next Thursday as well, but if you want to get them in ahead of time, you can do that as well. All that you can do via email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Please do not forget to use the hashtags, either hashtag itspotlight411 or hashtag ITS5. That one, of course, represents our 5th year on the air as a podcast. You can also find us on Facebook. To search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook and make sure you like our page. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information about our show, especially as it relates to scheduling. Again, as I mentioned on the show this afternoon and on the show on Tuesday, we are still, I am still dealing with some tech support issues with our new host site. So for those that are waiting for us to be available in audio format to catch up on recent episodes of our show, meaning those that have been at all the episodes we've had on Google Plus and YouTube, we are not ready for that yet. Hopefully, I've been told that by the time we have shows next week that it will be ready. Thereby, we'll have our Podbean site ready, and we'll have iTunes back up and running with all of our new episodes. So hopefully that will be the case. So those of you that prefer us in audio format will have the opportunity to check us out once again in audio format and then catch up on episodes in audio format. Hopefully that will be the case next week. But for now, as it relates to our recent episodes, which includes all 20 of our Google Hangouts and YouTube episodes that we've had since we debuted here on Google Hangouts and YouTube. You can only check those out here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube, and you'll find our channel. You'll have access to all of our episodes since we debuted here in October on Hangouts and on YouTube. All 20 of our episodes since we debuted here are on here, so feel free to check those out if you're interested, if you want to check them out again, or maybe you missed a part of an episode or want to catch up on some episodes you may have missed, whatever the case may be. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411 here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube to do that. And hopefully, again, the audio will be available in audio format and have our new host site up and be back on iTunes for new episodes next week. If you're somebody that's a longtime fan of the show and would like to listen to some of our older episodes from before we came here to Google Hangouts and YouTube, or if you're a new fan that wants to get a better sense of who we are and what we did over the years on our show, you can check out our older episodes on several sites. You can check out our original 31 episodes, our first 31 episodes ever on blogtalkradio.com, and you can check out all the rest of our episodes from before our days here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube, either on TalkShoe.com, Libsyn.com, or on iTunes. On all those sites, Blog Talk Radio, TalkShoe, Libsyn, and iTunes, you want to make sure you search for us under our old show name, In the Spotlight with Brian Gardner, and it's In the Spotlight with Brian Gardner. And then once you search for us under that, you will find all of our old show pages and have access to all the episodes of our show before our days here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube. So if you're interested in that, whether you're a longtime fan or a new fan, go ahead and check our older episodes out. All right. With that being said, that is it for this week. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
All right. One more thing with pro wrestling. Do yourself a favor and watch a Shinsuke Nakamura match on YouTube at some point. And I don't know if you mentioned it at the beginning, but that tragedy in California was mind-numbing, and a lot of the facts that came out of it are depressing. And the fact that the bill to strengthen stronger measures for guns that was defeated in the Senate today was disgusting, and it was voted against by many of the same people who offered prayers and sympathies. It's like your inaction is what causes all of this to happen. And I don't mean to take a big political stand, but it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And look, all we can really do is offer thoughts and prayers and charity to those people who've lost their lives. But at this point, enough's enough.
Yeah.
Like, enough's enough.
Well, I mentioned it on the football show this afternoon, but yeah, I'll mention it briefly again. And there was another shooting in Savannah, Georgia today. I think one person died and 3 were wounded in that. So, yes, our prayers, our thoughts, our condolences out to all those impacted by the shooting yesterday in San Bernardino and today in Savannah, Georgia. And obviously, there's been a lot of tragedy over the last few weeks. And to all those that passed away, may they rest in peace. It's been. You're right. It's just horrifying. It seems like it's getting, I think we say this a lot, that it seems like we hear it more, these stories more and more, or hear about them or watch them on the news, and it's true. We hear them and watch them, see these stories more and more, and it's sad. It really is. And again, all you can give is your prayers, your thoughts, your charity, and think of the people affected by it. That's all you can really do. It's just horrifying, and hope and pray for peace, because it's really sad. It really is. Well, thank you, Mike, for being here. And of course to myself, thank you. Another great show for us. Parents, so I beg and thank all of you for your continued support and your contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. And again, for those that did not check out the Football Blitz show earlier today, it was we broadcasted live at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, a little after that, but right around there. So if you haven't checked out that show, it is episode 19. It is available on Hangouts and on YouTube. So if you want to check it out, go right ahead. That's it for this week. That's all 3 of our shows. I hope you all have a great rest of your night, a great weekend, a great start to week next week. Also, really quickly, I want to send a shout out to our sometimes co-host, but our contributor Justin, going through a little bit of a hard time right now, so our prayers are with him as well. So I want to make sure to note that. So all right, that's it for this week. Again, hope you have a great weekend, great start to week next week. We'll see you back here for our first of 3 shows next week, broadcasting live here on Google Hangouts and on YouTube for our sports entertainment combo show. We'll do a little wrestling on that show. Well, we won't do any wrestling because our wrestling show is next Thursday, so it'll be just sports and entertainment on Tuesday. NBA, MLB, college basketball, all that good stuff. And then, of course, entertainment-wise, box office beat, TV highlights, and, of course, any entertainment news discussion that's warranted, we will do that. So that will be our Tuesday show, our first of 3 shows next week. And then next Thursday, of course, will be an all-wrestling show, previewing WWE's TLC pay-per-view. So that's what's coming up next week. Until next week, have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe. Have a great start to the week as well. We'll see you back here, broadcasting live and streaming on Google Hangouts and on YouTube at 8 o'clock Eastern Time this Tuesday, December the 8th. Until then, have a good night, everybody.